I think we are. Yes, we are streaming. Awesome. Guys, thank you very much for coming to our talk again. So uh, we are discussing today the life and work balance in pandemic. And before we start, I would like you, if possible, to say literally a few words about yourself, just to get people familiar with you. Who wants to start?
I can start.
Okay,
Uh,
Michael.
so my name is Michael Hochberg. I'm an American living in Finland. I've been here now 30 years. I'm an NLP practitioner and master practitioner, and I taught English for many years, English as a second language for many years here in Finland. And I do cross-cultural coaching. So I help people to adjust to new cultures. So I was born in Boston, went to school in the Northeast, and then began traveling at about the age of 26. So that's my story.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much, Michael. By the way, if someone is not kind of familiar with the term NLP, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah,
Right.
of course, coaches and trainers, they do remember that, but some people might not know what NLP is. Neuro-linguistic programming. Thank you very much, Michael. Alice, please.
My name is Alice. I am in the U.S. I'm currently living in Mississippi. I'm a coach, a life coach. I like to really work with people on a spiritual aspect as healing from the inside out. I consider myself kind of a world citizen. I started traveling at 16, and I love traveling and I love helping people.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Alice. John.
Thank you, Alex. My name's John Ward. I live just outside of Washington, D.C. here in the United States. For the most part, I have many hats that I wear. One of them is a coach and primarily focused on professional and personal development, as well as working with people who are going through different life transitions, be it career, be it, job loss, etc. The other work that I do is that I'm a creative engagement coordinator in an assisted living community. And that's a lot of the work that I do outside of my coaching, and it's focused on art and engagement, particularly with those who are in those types of communities. I'm an art instructor for elementary school students, and I also work in hospice with people who are at the end of their lives. And probably my most important job is being a father as well. So I have two boys. So that's as I said, I wear many hats, but today my focus is around coaching.
Perfect. Okay, awesome, guys. Thank you very much for introduction. Now people could kind of have an idea. And so as for today, life and work balance. So if I would ask you, each of you, a question, we could go and we could actually, if it's okay with you, to go with the same order. What kind of troubles or problems you could articulate in terms of life work in the current situation?
Well, I think one of the problems is that people are now working at home. They're not in the work environment. They might have trouble motivating themselves to get stuff done. Um, and really prioritizing things, structuring things, and finding the balance, when to stop working.
Yeah.
So I think that the main problems that people are having now is motivating themselves, prioritizing what they need to do, being on their own. So really being an entrepreneur in many senses. So I
Yeah,
think
it's
those
true.
are- yeah.
Exactly. When you were describing the whole kind of symptoms, I would say the problematic symptoms, I was thinking, well, I'm in that situation like the last 30 years. I mean, my pandemic started, yeah, some kind of yeah, I could relate because it does kind of describing the entrepreneurial environment. There are no bosses, above you, and no one tells you, and there is no, from 9 to 5, or there is no stops, and yeah, without structure, it's really, really tough. And suddenly everyone, got into that kind of shoes of entrepreneurship practically. Thank you, Michael, for describing the symptoms. By the way, do you experience one of those personally?
Personally, for me, it's prioritizing what needs to be done and motivation, getting things done. Those are my biggest problems right now, biggest challenges.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Okay. Alice, what about you?
Well, mine is kind of the opposite of what Michael was saying. I'm coming in contact with a lots of people that don't have the luxury, if you call it that, of working at home. They have to still go to their jobs, and they have kids at home. So
Mhm.
there's a big gap between that. They have to go to work. They have to think about, okay, either taking their children to someone else out into the world to take care of them while they're at work. So it's creating a lots of stress with them thinking, okay, I don't want to take my child outside the house, but I have to go to work because I'm an essential employee. So it's creating a lots of stress there. So that's
Mhm.
what I'm coming in contact with, because I've worked with lots of people that work in the hospital setting. And that's the thing that they're telling me about. It's really stressful.
Yeah.
What do I do? I have to go to work. I have to take care of my child. And it's this gap between.
Wow. All right. Okay, clear, Alice. And John, what comes to your mind, and what you do personally experience in relation to today's discussion, life, work, balance?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I think for me, it has been mostly the challenge of creating boundaries and creating structure, because I am home and we're all here together. I am fortunate enough that I'm able to work from home, um, despite the fact that I have coworkers who are still on the front line. And to Alice's point, it's really important, that we remember that there are a lot of people who have to deal with this, that they do have to go out, and there are challenges with what that means. And again, I have coworkers who are on the front line, and I have to be honest, there's a little bit of guilt on my side because I am here. And that's something that I have to contend with myself, because I'm seeing them doing the work and I'm still doing work from home. But again, just watching people in my orbit who are having to deal with that. For me in particular, and we talked a little bit about this in a previous segment around parenting, and this balance between my doing my work and also essentially filling in as a teacher, and then doing
Yeah.
all of the other things to keep the family running. And so what I find for myself is that I can see myself at 11 or 11:30 at night and I'm still working, because I've maneuvered through the day, and it doesn't seem as though the work ever ends. And so
Yeah.
that can be applied to people in the office, but for me, that's one of the challenges that I have.
Mhm, mhm. So yeah, if right now we are talking with you, maybe let's go backwards now. I mean, just to have some fun. In terms of strategy, you just described the problem. Tell me, please, were you able to test some strategies? And if you were able, Did anything worked well?
It's a great question. I think for me, what I've been trying to do is utilize my calendar. And, oftentimes we just, I just focus on kind of the essentials of work and my calendar. But what I've been doing is entering in all of the activities and actions that I need to do during the day in my calendar. Unfortunately, it's a little overwhelming, but I have, all of the boys' times that they need to be at school and be ready, to be online. But I'm capturing everything because it gives me a sense of a little bit of control over my day. I'm aware of what needs to happen. I have to be honest, the other thing that I've been learning to do, given, this whole environment and adapting to this, is I'm lowering my expectations. I'm lowering my expectations of myself because, I want to be the good dad and the good worker and the good everything. And that's a lot to be, putting on one's shoulders, but it's lowering expectations. I'm trying to be kind to myself as well as being kind to those who are around me. But I think that has been helping me in terms of also managing distractions. And that's been another challenge for me, is that, I, like just now, I can hear the little voice in the hallway, despite having said, Papa's going to be on the phone. But anyway, so it's so, you didn't see me react. And that's part of my just simply letting go of some things, that this is life. And we're dealing with a very interesting time. And I think it's, in the end, I feel like this is going to be a great lesson for me in my learning how to really let go and lower those expectations.
Okay, super. Thank you, John. So for me, it sounds like one of the things which at certain period of my life, I was struggling to move out of perfectionism, and my perfectionist part was telling, it doesn't make any sense to plan, because everything, anytime the plan goes sideways, and so I actually stopped even planning. Later on, when I went through the NLP training and other things, I adopted like a new strategy. I came to what you just described. Yes, I do have plan, and I'm aware that my plan will be super flexible. I can change anytime, anything, but it's better to have it and be aware that, well, life can interfere and we need to be patient and move things if it's necessary. So eventually, yeah, that's what sounds to me like you are kind of in that type of strategy at the moment. Okay. Alice, what about you? What about strategies which you developed, or if it's not you, maybe you heard or from your clients, what you could share?
Well, about 2 years ago, I started working at home. I retired from my 9 to 5 and started working at home. And it had been going really good. And, I kind of set my own schedule. But as soon as they said shelter in place, my whole mindset changed. I mean, I had been doing it for 2 years, but all of a sudden something changed. My thinking changed, and it was like, okay, I have to make a schedule. I have to, if I wanted to stop and watch TV or watch a show, I did it. But now it's like, okay, you have to stay on track. And it was just, I think the biggest thing is for me that I had to look kind of internally and get my mindset, okay, it's shelter in place. But basically, it's like you said, I had been sheltering in place for 2 years, but the day that they said shelter in place, my whole mindset just changed. I was confused, and I had to get back and sit back and think, okay, this is the same thing you've been doing. So now use this as a tool to really learn how to do an online business. Use all the tools, learn, Zoom is my friend now. Zoom is my friend. Skype is my friend. So instead of using it, looking at it as a negative, I said, okay, how can I use this as a positive and create a better business while I'm also helping? So it was a mindset thing for me.
Well, nice. Nice. So adaptation, the word adapt, which John just recently kind of used, and it seems like you also looked at the something which you could potentially resist, but you found the way how to relax, how to accept, and use it as a learning opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, I say. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Alice. Michael, here we go. How did you, if you are able to, as a result, overcome your challenges, and what kind of strategy did you use, and if anything worked?
Yeah. So as far as motivation goes, I try and say to myself, do it now, do it now, do it now, kind of an affirmation. Um, Also, I try and use the two types of motivation, the carrot and the stick. So if I want to get something done, I motivate myself with the reward, and I remind myself the pain that's going to happen if I don't do it. Um, so I use those two things. There is another challenge that I'm having that I didn't mention, and that is for me. I have many projects going on, and from going from one project to the next project, it takes me a long time to adjust to move from one to the other. That's another challenge I forgot to mention before. And for that one, I'm getting coached. Someone is coaching me on that.
Yeah.
So as far as prioritizing, that is a very big challenge for me. I have a lot of things that I want to do, and I haven't found a good enough. I put things in my calendar, all the regular things, put things in the calendar and everything. But there's a lot of things going on, and I haven't really found a good solution to that one yet. So.
Yeah. Yeah, work in progress. Thank you very much for sharing. What resonates with me personally, when you said jumping from one project to another project, I agree it could be really a challenge. And what as a strategy, what I was using is that kind of finding the appropriate time period devoted to one particular project. I mean, for example, in my case, I am trying to spend with the one project, not just, I don't know, half an hour, 1 hour, but maybe like half of the day, like really having a little bit longer time than, because in my case, if I start batching those projects in a 40 minutes or half an hour times, I really cannot do anything. It's going to take me maybe half an hour just to figure it out where I am. And then, I need to already to switch. So as a result, to find that kind of optimal time where you could already accomplish something in certain particular project. And then it would make sense to switch to another one. And it's totally depend on your, I would say your personality, depend on some, I would say, difficulties of the project and so on. There are some kind of variables which are different for every person, but I can totally relate to that issue as well. Okay. Guys, I'm just curious what, we are talking right now 20 minutes. Perfect. We are doing well. So, Michael, in terms of life work balance, I'm just curious because we use balance as if we talking about the same thing. I'm sure that we are coaches. We know that, you know, everyone probably kind of having in that word kind of a little bit different meaning or different nuances. So what is the balance for you?
Well, um, I guess for me, it's doing the work as best as you can and then finding the time to recharge. And somehow you have to work it out. It's a very difficult thing to work out because it's very easy to, you know, when you're recharging to over recharge, or it's very easy when you're working hard to overwork. So, um, yeah, it's a very tough question. I think it's different for each individual. You have to. It kind of reminds me. I don't know if you read the book Flow, uh, but
Yeah,
in the
I
book
did.
he says, you know, that you have to find you're in the zone when you're in between stress and anxiety and total relaxation. So that when you're in
Relaxation.
between
Yeah.
those things, you're in flow. And so y- there's a I think it's very individualistic. It's different for every person. So I think somehow.
Precisely. That's why I ask you. I mean, what your balance look like? I mean, because what I'm just curious about that we are kind of the topic life work balance, and probably we would like to achieve one. And
Yeah.
I know that that point where that balance it's actually different for everyone, and that's why, you know, my idea is would be nice if we would at least to try to define for ourselves, to give people who are watching this discussion the idea that they need to define their balance. Because I not recently, I think maybe 5 years ago, I come across one book which was kind of challenging my assumptions. I mean, before I was about time management, and the authors of the book they were about energy management, and the idea is that uh, being productive, being efficient means that you're supposed to have time to recharge, exactly as you said, Michael. And we need to look at that recharging time as a part of the solution, meaning you cannot be efficient, you cannot be productive in your work if you don't have recharging part. So people overworking is not sustainable, and through overworking, you find yourself very quickly being not efficient and not productive anymore. So to look at the recharging part as a essential part of being efficient and, you know, at your work. So it's kind of, when I read that, I was like, it does really make sense. And that's where I agree with you, that balance totally kind of on the individual level supposed to be found. So what is yours? How you would define it?
Um, so for me, my most productive times are in the morning, um, from let's say 6 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I kind of need to recharge a little bit. So maybe I'll meditate a little bit, just just close my eyes and concentrate on my breathing or listen to music, some form of meditation, and then I might continue after that. And then in the evening, usually watch a movie or YouTube, which is very helpful to relax. Um,
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Mhm. So are you satisfied with that balance which you found?
I find that um, I think that I'm recharging a little too much for me.
Mhm.
I need to spend more time doing more work. That's how I
Okay.
feel at this moment.
Yeah, yeah. So your at least, yeah, your evaluation is that something need to be shifted a little bit and find more, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of ideal. Okay, thank you, Michael. Thanks a lot. Alice, what about you? I'm just curious about your, well, not definition, but some kind of criteria, because if we do not have our own criteria, how we could, how we could reach balance if you have no idea what it is. So that's why I'm challenging right now, you to come up with some kind of description.
Okay, for me, this is how my balance look. I'm a morning person. So if I can get up, I would love to get up at 4 in the morning, but that doesn't work most of the morning. So I get up at 5, and at 5, I have from 5 to 6 is my time for meditation, for prayer, just for sitting with myself and kind of getting centered. Then from 6, I usually come downstairs, I have my coffee, and I see what's on my schedule. If I have appointments that I have to, appointments, then I know I have to make time for those. But if I don't have set appointments, I work on whatever I'm working on at home. You know, I think we're all really creative, so we have different projects we're working on. You know, I might be working on my online course. I might be working on. I might paint. I might listen to music, and somewhere during the day, I take a nap. I really do. I take a nap, and I mean, I wake up and it's like, okay, I'm starting over, and I get that energy burst that I get when I first wake up in the morning. It's like a reset, I guess. And
Yeah.
if I don't get up at 5 in the morning, if I don't do the things that I think I should do, I tell myself it's okay. You know, I am human, and I've learned not to live in guilt. I've learned to forgive myself. And really, when you think about it, it's really not forgiving myself because I'm human. So these are just human traits. So I don't live in guilt. And at the end of the day, if I can look back and say, okay, I did this and I did this and I did it well. If I can look back and I talked to one person and I feel that somehow that conversation helped that one person, that create balance in me. I feel like, okay, I've lived on purpose. So, and it's always just trying to at least do one thing each day, or say one thing to someone that will make them smile or help them in some way. And that creates my balance. It's always from the inside out. If I don't have peace inside, my whole day is just chaos.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for sharing, Alice. Very fascinating. And lots of, yeah, nice points. I like it. John, what about you?
So the wonderful thing that I will say is that both Michael and Alice both hit on everything that I try to practice in my day. Honestly, the morning rituals, reaching out to people and connecting, which we've talked so much about, and the importance of that. And Alice was mentioning this too. One of the things that I do is that, I even say this to the family, is we're going to take one day at a time. And each day I get up, I remind myself that I'm resetting. I don't have to go back to what happened yesterday. I start my day anew. It's like I do literally hit a reset button, and I try to stay very present in that day. And I think that's what really helps me at least try to maintain that focus and do the things that I need to do. And at the end of the day, you know, I try to reflect and I ask myself the questions, what can I do better? What can I do less of or more of? You know, maybe it is about, I need to take a nap because I'm tired. And I love that Alice said that. So again, I think, you know, my approach is to see each day as a brand new one, reset the button. I don't need to get caught up on what happened yesterday if things didn't work out the way they should have or could have, but starting each day brand new. And, you know, again, reflecting and asking myself the question of what can I do differently today? You know, based on what I learned from yesterday. So, you know, again, it's about mindset, and it is about kind of how we look at things. So that's the other piece that I bring into my orbit so that it creates a little bit of balance, because I'm able to look at it and hopefully it sets the tone for my day as well. And like Alice said, if I enter the day in peace and in this calm mindset, I'm pretty sure, and I know this to be true, that for the most part my day will stay in that place. You know, things will happen, but I will still be in that mindset of, okay, this is all I got today and I'm going to do my best, and that's all I can do. So yeah, so
Wow.
thank you both, because it really connected. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. I like all the insights and all advices or recommendations, and it's really it's awesome. Lots of interesting points. As for me, for example, I long time ago I've done when I was still in NLP courses, we've done exercises of kind of making our life values clear. So I have my life values written down, and I know what is number one, what is number two, even though it's a little bit artificial, but nevertheless. So I have my 10 highest life values, and more or less kind of they are prioritized. And what I often do as well in the morning, so when I look at my to-do list and I look at my values, it's like I have like a two lists in front of me. And very often it's much easier to prioritize and to be motivated with certain particular like a to-do lists or finding the right priorities when you see that number one value for you, for example, is, let's say, connection. And then you look in 25 things you need to do today and you think, well, if my number one life value is connection and or contribution, then I would choose from those 25 things to do, you know, the one which the most kind of resonate with my highest life value, and make sure that I will proceed with that first of all. So just to make sure that your highest life values are kind of honored and fulfilled, and then it's so much easier. In the end of the day, you see that, well, I do live this day kind of by purpose, and so there is a much higher probability to have a very satisfactory day. Not always, of course, we all humans, things could go sideways and all the plan goes kind of not in the right way, but even if you do it time to time and time to time, kind of the day will be successful and aligned with your life values. That's a powerful kind of method which I found for myself working. Okay, guys, thank you very much, and pleasure. It was pleasure talking with you, and I hope people who listened and watched our videos found something for themselves. I would encourage people to share, you know, this video and, you know, other videos which they would, you know, find useful and helpful, and subscribe for our channel, and see you guys in our next talks. We have lots of topics to cover in the future. John, Michael, Alice, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye all.
Bye.